Back about 1,000,000 years ago, when I was in the military, we had a saying that people used to use, and the saying was, RHIP, rank has its privileges. Now, when I initially moved into the dormitories where I started to do my second set of training, I washed out of the first because of something they wanted me to do that I just wasn't able to do. But I started doing my training, and they had this policy. We were what they called a 6-week wonder course. The course was done in 6 weeks of 8-hour days. So we would come in, and every couple of weeks a new class would come in. So they had this policy, and the policy basically said, you do, quote, chores around the dormitories for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, when the new class comes in, they take over the chores and you don't do them anymore. Rank has its privileges. This is the microcosm view. The macrocosm view is, of course, you have 14 years in service, and you're not the guy who pulls stock out of the warehouse if you're a warehouseman anymore. You're the guy who manages pulling stock out of the warehouse and makes sure people do it right. That's what you do, right? That's your job. There's something to be said for the same sort of thing applying to having children, which is why I'm talking on the subject of having children today. By the way, if you hear a little bit of noise today, it'll be my son being his normal self. So you're going to have to live with that. Hopefully he won't do too much, but you never know. In any case, that's why, as I say, we're talking on the subject of having children today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 4th of July of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. I just found out that it looks like a person that I have paid attention to on YouTube has been terminated. Their account has been terminated. Permit me to express my sorrow that that's the case to Bruce the Boss Brooks, who I'll give a shout out here. Hope that you're doing well, and hopefully you'll start doing Rumble or similar things more so that we can see you there, because obviously YouTube does not want to hear what you have to say, and you can rest assured that they may not be alone in that, but I certainly do, if nothing else. All right, so let me get on with this. Again, the subject today is having children, and I'm going to go ahead and read my notes very quickly because I like to do that to give you an idea where I am. If you're a parent, you may still find something useful in this video. Your children may be more than a little concerned about the idea of having children of their own, as an example. Even if you're a parent of younger children, this is something you need to address. There are a couple of critical reasons for procreation, and I'm not stating that these are the only reasons. The first one is one you may not suspect. It helps us to grow into our role as adults. One of the reasons so many folks don't really grow up, or at least don't do so particularly quickly, is that they don't have that youngster counting on them pretty much at all times. Here's the thing, though. Maybe that's scary. Maybe it's the reason you don't think you'll have kids. Here's what you need to understand. I'm counting on the next generation to do things like stock shelves and serve burgers. Sound bad? That's not where I expect them to end up. It's just where many of them will start out, and I want to stress, many of them, not everybody. And in the end, as they advance in life, they will count on the next generation that rises up in much the same way. This is how life works. Rank has its privileges. I go back to that idea. Years ago, I worked in a pizza joint. I was the guy who prepped all the stuff in the back room. I was the guy who washed all of the dishes. The owner was the one who made the pizzas and I made sure that the front area generally looked good, though he did some things to add to that over the course of time. That having been said, the point of all of this, and again, this is not the only thing, and we're going to talk about some other things hopefully as we get the time as we move on in this little video today. But the point of all of this is, as I said yesterday, we have to, as we get older, take on responsibilities that we didn't have before. And a piece of that process is moving from menial tasks to more significant ones. And what that means is somebody's got to be there to take over those tasks that maybe aren't so important or so hard to do. And it's their chance to sort of work their way up and get into better positions as time goes on. Right? So this is basically what I'm talking about when I say that. Now I want to make something perfectly clear. I'm a parent of 4 children, and my oldest child is 36 years old. My youngest is 8, so I'm still dealing with him on an not even adolescent, well, an adolescent, I guess, basis, right? Not a teenager. is the point. He's not a teenager. He's not post-pubescent yet or any of that. But the point I'm making is this. I've dealt with children for a very long time, and let me just tell you that there are a lot of really rewarding things about being a parent. Don't get me wrong. Everything is not a bowl of cherries. Everything is not hunky-dory, and everything is not easy to deal with. That all having been said, though, if you have children, you will get a bunch of stuff that you were not expecting out of doing so. Now, I frankly suggest that you get married and be in a stable relationship before you have those children. And I suggest that you realize that children are going to do lots of things wrong, and you're going to have to deal with that reality. That's just reality. It's how it works, and you have to deal with it. And I'm not trying to say otherwise. That's not what I'm trying to say. But that said, I think still that there's a whole lot that comes out of being a parent that you probably don't realize because you're not thinking in the same sort of terms as you would need to in order to understand that. Children truly are a gift. Yes, they're a pain in the rear sometimes, and I'll be the first to say that. But the reality is they are a gift. And again, you help also to make society continue to function by having those children, because if they make their way to adulthood, and hopefully they will, right? Those children will become the next generation who flips burgers, and then ultimately the next generation who does more important stuff and potentially becomes the leaders of society. Now, that flipping burgers phase is a pretty important phase, and unfortunately we've done a lot of damage to it in the modern day when we've said, well, you've got to pay people this much and blah, 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 which is not really how that ought to work. All of that said and considered, the fact is you gain that responsibility, that ability, and so forth, and at the same time you serve the remainder of humanity by what you're doing when you act as somebody who flips burgers or stocks shelves or works a register at a grocery store or whatever it happens to be. And again, is this where I expect most of those people to end up? No. I know a guy who worked in security, and I don't know if he did this or not, but what a lot of people do is work in security or something similar, turn around to start to work in something else that makes them better money and helps them to gain a retirement, went back to work in security because he knew that he could do, they know that they can do it without it being a horrible strain on their life. So that's what they do. So, there are people who do that. But on the other hand, there are also people who stay in positions of pretty serious power and pretty strong authority as a result of the fact that they grew up, and many of them learned the value of hard work by, quite frankly, doing it. It's hard to find a better way to learn the value and to learn how important it is to do jobs right than to actually do those things yourself. And then when you get into positions of power and prestige or whatever, you begin to realize a couple of things. One, that you need to be nice to those people because they're working their butts off to make things happen. And two, that things have to be done right. So fast is okay, but right is better. Anyway, the point of all of this is, if you haven't thought about having kids and you're getting to that age where before too long you're not going to be able to, I highly suggest to you that it's an important part. You might even argue a rite of passage to have children, to raise them up. And I think you'll find there are some really amazing things about having kids that you maybe have not considered if you've never had any for yourself. This is all pretty important stuff. Again, if you can't think of any other reason, replenishing the population is one. Now, why do you care about that? Well, that comes to the other, another part of that, which is to have people to do jobs so that other people can move up the ladder. And then there's the fact that having children actually tends to make people into better adults. They tend to grow up, they tend to gain responsibility as a result, and that makes it so that they're more likely to be in those higher positions as a rule than if they don't do that sort of thing. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Sunday, the 4th of July of 2021. Again, it is Independence Day today. Expect to hear the fireworks go off around you. Thank you for everybody who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my seriously preferred platform, and that's where I prefer that you pay attention to me. YouTube being rather censorious in how they do business. Today's subject has been having children. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the idea of half-truths. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is working well for you. It is Sunday. It is the beginning of the Christian week. That means tomorrow should be the beginning of the work week, but for a lot of people, I know that they're going to get the Independence Day holiday observed on tomorrow. So if that happens for you, congratulations. If you're working on the weekend, I'm going to say it again. I very, very much appreciate what you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being there and doing what you do. Hope that things are going well for you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are having a good day today, and we'll have a good week for the next week. Obviously, I'll be doing another video tomorrow on Monday, the 5th of July of 2021. Like I say, the Independence Day observance. I will be doing the Half-Truths video. I hope, again, that you're doing well, and hopefully we will see you on the next edition of the Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Sunday, July the 4th of 2021, Independence Day. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.